this. I don't have any words for the future, but I have words for you, advice for you right now. Is that what you want?
Okay.
Okay. So, advice for you right now would be to know that this business is tough and you just have to hang with it in terms of the hours are tough, the pay's not that great all the time, but it's very rewarding at the same time. And all of those things that you learn in journalism school really are what this is all about. So, but my biggest piece of advice for you is just to work your hardest every day to do what anything that anybody asks for of you, and you'll be successful.
The best thing to do in this business, because it's so small, it doesn't look that way to you now, but it's really small, and everybody knows everybody, and never burn a bridge, never do anything in anger, because it will come back to haunt you invariably. And always network with your friends, stay in touch with people, don't forget that. Friendships mean a lot in this business, and your relationships with your with the people that you're covering, you know, and any news story that you cover, you're developing a relationship with that person. You always want to be truthful and honest to the best degree possible. Don't manipulate what they say in order to score points, and just remain thorough and journalistic in your approach to your work. And you're women at a very good time in broadcasting, so you know, having been through the ranks when women weren't so populated in our industry, I think that it's a very good time for all of you. So don't ever hesitate if you'd like to call me or access me for information or help. I'm always open to that. I really think it's the most important thing that I can do is help young people, young women especially, through the doors that it takes to climb up the industry ladder. So don't ever hesitate to call me if you feel that you need me.
So great. Now I'm on tape. I know where this is going to end up. Accuracy first, always. You always want to aim to be accurate in everything that you do in journalism, anything that you do, actually, whether it's journalism or not. Once you have accuracy, once you have it right, then you can go and make it interesting and make it compelling, and it should be all of those at once, but first you have to have accuracy before you can make anything sound good, read good, well, it's got to be right. That's my biggest piece of advice. And so if any of you end up in broadcasting, think about conversational writing, how you would talk with somebody. Think about making what you do matter to the person that you're trying to target. So not every story has a broad audience, and that's okay in some instances. Some stories might only affect a small segment of the population. So you can target it at those audiences, and you can be very personal and say, you might want to listen up because such and such is changing. This law means you're not going to get to walk your Cocker Spaniel on sidewalks anymore or something, So it doesn't matter to anybody who doesn't have a Cocker Spaniel, but you're still making it compelling to those people who do and compelling to people who don't, because they're like, oh, wow, what if I got a Cocker Spaniel, So there's a lot of advice that I could probably come up with. But
what about for people our age who just got out of our first internship, and now we're going back to school, and then we'll be graduating pretty soon here within the next couple of years? What would you recommend for us, especially in our first job or even getting a first job?
Start early. Start looking early. Start looking now. Though you may not be able to apply for jobs,
He was?
you may not be in the position where you can do that. Start seeing what's out there. Start playing with your resumes. Put them together now if you haven't already. Start playing with all of your clips and samples of your work, making sure you have that in line. Talk with hiring managers, whatever you're headed for. If you're headed for a broadcast outlet, talk with news directors about what they're looking for, and ask them if they would give you advice as well. That's what I did, and and some people I did. I had a sit-down meeting with somebody, you know, in one big city, and he, you know, looked at some of my stuff and he said, this is good, you need to work on this, blah, blah, blah. And it was very helpful. It was very helpful. So some people are going to be very willing to do that for you. Try to network as much as you can with people in the industry already. That's going to be a really big help in getting a job. It's just the way it is. It really is, to some extent, about who you know. It's not necessarily for certain that's what's going to get you a job, or the only thing that's going to get you a job, but it certainly can't help or hurt. You know, and ask them what it's like, and make sure you know everything that you can about the place that you may end up working. And what that means is not only for the interview, so it sounds like you know what you're talking about, but also to find out if this is a place you really want to work. Because you don't want to end up getting to a place and you're like, oh my gosh, what did I get myself into? And you can't exactly quit 2 weeks, 3 months, 6 months into the job. You have to stay there. Otherwise, it's going to hurt your career long term.
Let's see. Good advice for future aspiring journalists. I would say always be real. You know, always be yourself. Always know what you want to do with your career and what you want to do in journalism. Play to your strengths. You know, if you're a good writer, be a good writer. If you're a good editor and you know how to put together really good pieces and you can help make someone else look really good and put them on the air, or sound really good and put them on the air in radio, do that. If you, if you're a good, whatever you end up doing, you know, try out everything. Try everything at least once, and be willing to try everything once. There's also no such thing as the wrong question or a dumb question. The only wrong question is the question that you don't ask, because inevitably that's the question that'll give you the answer that you need for your story. So that's another thing. You know, don't be afraid to ask questions. That's what you do. You know, when you get to be a reporter and you wear one of these press badges, this is a license to ask questions. All right? And the more you do it, the better you become. See? So that's another, I think that's another good piece of advice that I'd pass along. And probably the last piece of advice is, never forget that you don't get, you know, it's like everything. You basically need the help of other people to do what you do as a reporter. I don't get on the air on Federal News Radio without the help of Dave Garner, who's a dynamite chief engineer. My voice doesn't go out over a 50,000 watt AM transmitter up and down the East Coast without his work and the work of Art Rose and Brian Oliger and all the other people who make it possible. So never forget that you don't do this alone, and you have to be a little real, you have to be a little humble. But if you try and keep a lot of that in mind, it's not, you know, obviously that's not the only thing that you're going to do, but keep it in mind. And that's the kind of stuff that you need to keep in mind to be good at anything in this business. Good luck to you guys. Thanks for your help over the summer. So we're here on Thursday, July 30th, and the last day for the 2009 class of interns here at Federal News Radio. Go down the line and give me your names and your schools so that we have everybody's name and school jotted down.
Emily McKenna, and I go to Marshall University.
Okay.
Melinda Zosh, and I go to Liberty University.
Okay.
Ariana Price, and I go to Marshall University in Huntington as well.
Okay.
And I'm Sarah Ashe, and I'm in the process of transferring schools, but as of right now, it's the University of South Florida.
All right, very good. All right, so anybody who wants to start, and I want to go down the line here, and I want to ask you, what was it like being an intern here at Federal News Radio this summer? What are you going to tell people when you go back to school about your time here?
that Max is a party animal.
Me?
Don't be fooled, ladies.
A deserved reputation if ever I saw one.
I've never interned at a radio station before. I
Uh-huh.
interned at a newspaper before, and I have to say radio is much more exciting. I like it a lot better.
Mm-hmm.
I had a really great time here. I really enjoyed it.
Good.
The atmosphere I thought was really cool, but I really enjoyed going like on location. Like I got to go to the Pentagon with Jason Miller, one of the
Mhm.
reporters, and that was really fun for me.
Yeah, great.
Well, I would add on to what Sarah and Ariana just said and say that this has been the best experience of my life because I've had the opportunity to work with producer Ruben Gomez. I worked with The Morning Show, the co-host there. I also got to go out, like Ariana said, with Jason and with you, Max. I had the opportunity to go out on Capitol Hill, and yesterday I got to see John McCain in person, and I almost died. It was pretty exciting. The most exciting experience of my life by far.
All right. Emily, how about you?
Oh, I like radio. I didn't know I would like working at a radio station.
Mhm.
My goal was never to work at a radio station, but I like this.
Yeah.
I like, and kind of a funny reason, I like being able to push buttons so I don't get to a whole lot. But you know, this is just awesome. I mean, I think we're a good group. You know, I don't know how this would have been otherwise. I mean, but this is a great experience. I do
Mhm.
think our target audience is kind of odd, but
You mean
You
the
can't offend the audience.
Let's be nice here, Emily.
you mean the federal workers who are the audience of Federal News Radio? It's kind of an unusual group of people to do the news for. Is that
Yes.
what you're saying?
well, I want to ask if you know, should there be a World War III if we would cover World War III? And I asked Julia, and she said we would from the perspective of federal agents.
It is very difficult to learn to grasp exactly what angle to take on a story because it affects federal workers in a different way, and that's
Mhm.
definitely a learning process when you come here because you have to learn to grasp that different viewpoint on stories.
Right. And so what is that viewpoint? What is that federal angle when you're trying to do a story for Federal News Radio? What kinds of things do you think about when we're putting together a story? Because in a lot of cases we work together on stories. What kinds of things did you learn that we do to serve our audience?
Well, I'd say the most important thing I learned is 80-20. And this is what I learned the first day I got here. We report 80% of the news for a targeted audience, which is the federal worker. And the other 20% can be general information. But really, we need to focus our information on the federal audience, and that means what do they care about? And it's important to look at it from the perspective coming from the federal agent. If I was a federal agent, what would I care about? And that was really difficult for me because I wasn't sure exactly what all these acronyms meant, but now I know what OPM is, I know about dashboards, I know about IT,
Mm-hmm.
and I think it's really important to have that information down to at least learn the basics about these agencies before you start reporting. Otherwise, it's going to be very difficult.
Sure. Want to go down the line and ask you, what was the most interesting thing you did during your just under 2 months here at Federal News Radio? What's the most interesting subject or story or topic that you had an opportunity to work on while you were here?
Well, for me, it wasn't really a story or topic. The most interesting part was just getting to go out with the actual reporters, like with you and with Jason Miller. It was really cool to see how, because, you know, reporters are often these mysterious characters, and so to actually go out with 2 reporters and see what it was like to follow them and to see them covering all the things, that was my favorite part, just tagging along.
Ariana, what about you?
I worked very specifically with Frances Rose on the Midday Show, and I did a lot of editing audio specifically from the hearings. And one of the most exciting hearings that I got to record and listen to and edit and do a little package for, and then as well do a web write for it, was when the GAO found out that people were able to smuggle bomb-making materials into federal buildings. That was such a big story, and I just felt really important that I got to work on that and got to do the web story. And, you know, they kind of Julia was like, all our reporters are out, we need you to do this, and
Mhm.
I sat in a room and did it, and that was my job for the day, and I thought that was really cool. I really
Great.
enjoyed that.
Good for you.
Well, I'd say there were a couple really interesting things that I got to learn this summer. And the first one, I got to learn a lot about the stimulus. I actually went out with you that day, Max. We
Mhm.
went to the house, and that was really interesting, just like learning where the money is going and seeing it from the perspective of the legislators and learning that these people do care, like they are humans above all. And I would say that was interesting, number one. Number two, I learned that you can apply federal agencies and that angle to any topic. I had the chance to interview Bob Schieffer of CBS, and I asked him, what is it like becoming friends with federal agents and working with them for so long? And I learned that I could apply everything that I've learned here pretty much to whoever I interview and whatever topic I choose to cover.
Oh, very cool. Parting question, because the pizza is here. But what would you tell an intern? What would you say would be the most important thing that you'd have your friend do to prepare themselves to come and be an intern here?
To prepare themselves, I'd just say background reading, because
Mhm.
I came here not really, like Melinda said, not really knowing a lot about
The federal government?
federal government and the agencies. And while I did learn a majority about it here, I think coming into it with a little more background information would have helped me out. So
Mhm.
do your reading.
Right. Ariana?
And along those same lines, knowing what's working on the Hill right now that affects federal agents, but also knowing exactly what angle to take. If you know that coming in, it's going to make your whole experience here that much better
Mhm.
because you have that experience and as well as just knowing how to edit audio because you do a lot of that, and if you don't know how to do that, it makes a very slow start.
Sure. Okay.
I agree with Sarah and Ariana, but to add to the technical side and learning about the federal agencies and learning about how government works in DC, I would say there are several personality traits that really, really would help an individual who's coming into an internship here at Federal News Radio. And one of those personality traits is to be adaptable, and that means to be teachable.
Mhm.
I've learned this summer that I've gotten a lot of constructive criticism, and a lot of times the way that you handle that information will help you become a better journalist. It'll help you become successful in the future. And I've just learned, yes, learn the technical side of things, read up on the information that's going on here, but come in with a positive attitude, because a smile can make all the difference, and just have a good attitude and be teachable.
Okay. Emily, you get to be the anchor here.
Well, one way to prepare might be, if they have the opportunity, I recommend maybe even, and tell me if you guys agree with this, shadowing a federal employee, or 2 or 3, to really find out where they're coming from on a day-to-day basis, because then, finding your angle might be easier.
Oh, okay.
Than if you've never encountered a situation.
Yeah, if you don't see them, they basically said that you can get an idea of what they're thinking about and what their priorities are when they're thinking about their jobs and stuff, and maybe help you out with your story a little bit. Well, ladies, I want to thank you all so much for joining us over the summer and choosing to come and hang out with Federal News Radio. This has been great.
Thank you for having us.
We've
Yeah, thank you,
appreciated having all your help, and you've been great. And wish you nothing but success as you move forward with your school and your career. Thanks
Thank
again.
you.
Thank you.
It's all right. The most rewarding part of the job is getting to meet cool people and to talk to them, and it's sort of a cliche, but anybody who's any good in this business sort of looks up every once in a while and realizes, hey, I get paid to do this. I get paid to interview people, and I get paid to ask them what they think about things, and I get paid to put the stories on the air and do really good radio and really good news. So that's probably the most fun part of it. I love doing production. I love doing stories where I can bring the listener to the story. And in this case, all I have really to work with is my microphone and whatever recorder I have, and then the resources of a radio station, also a website, that lets me do this. So those are the tools that I have, and everything else is sort of gravy on top of that. And it's something that something I keep in mind all the time when I'm doing this.
Aspiring journalist.
Choose another major.
Run
for your lives.
Run while you can.
Yeah. See if pre-med's available at your school.
Pre-med. But I can barely pass math. How am I going to pass pre-med?
You asked. That's not my problem.
How about pre-cafeteria?
Pre-med's
Okay.
not going to be so promising if they do universal health care.
Thank you, Ariana.
There you have it. There you have it. Hey, you guys have done a terrific job, all four of you.
Oh, yeah.
And
Absolutely.
I'm not going to know what to do tomorrow afternoon at 3:16. I'm going to feel lost.
Yes,
What's
you will.
316? What
Yeah.
is 316? Can you tell us about it?
3:16 is peanut butter jelly time
On a show
with a baseball bat. Good night, everybody. Drive
Have
safely.
you seen the new basketball?